This is All India Radio. I'm Anubha Rohatgi and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay with the Midday News. The headlines. Government says it is open to discussions on farmers' welfare. Fourth round of talks with the farmers to be held tomorrow. GST collections over 1 lakh crore for the second consecutive month. National COVID recovery rate reaches 94.03%. Cyclonic storm Burevi set to landfall this evening or tonight near Trincomalee in Sri Lanka. And in cricket, India set a target of 303 runs for Australia in the third one-day international in Canberra. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now, the news. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar has said that the central government is always committed to protect the interests of farmers and is always open for discussions for farmers' welfare. Along with the Agriculture Minister, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and Minister of State for Commerce Som Prakash yesterday met with the representatives of farmers' organizations from Punjab in New Delhi. The Agriculture Minister reiterated the fact to the representatives of the farmers' unions that the farming community throughout the nation will be benefited immensely from the agriculture reforms. During the talks that were held in a cordial atmosphere, various issues related to the Farm Reforms Act were discussed at length. The Agriculture Minister proposed to constitute an expert committee to put forth the issues of farmers. But the representatives of the Farmers' Union suggested that all the representatives will attend further round of discussions with the government to resolve the matter amicably. During the interaction, it was suggested by the government to the representatives of Farmers' Union to identify the specific issues related to Farm Reforms Act to be discussed during the 4th round of meeting to be held tomorrow. Talking to reporters after the meeting in New Delhi, Mr. Tomar said that the government has appealed to the farmers to suspend the protests and come for talks.
वार्ता का चौथा चरण शुरू होगा और तक ये लोग भी इशू अपने लेकर आएंगे और उन पर जिंदवार फिर चर्चा की जाए। सामान्य तौर पर हम सब लोग चाहते थे कि एक छोटा ग्रुप बने, लेकिन सभी यूनियंस का कहना यह था कि सब लोग एक साथ मिलकर बात करेंगे, तो सरकार को सबसे मिलकर बात करने में भी कोई आपत्ति नहीं। स्वाभाविक रूप से हम तो किसान भाइयों को आग्रह करते ही हैं कि वो आंदोलन स्थगित करें और वार्ता के लिए आएं, लेकिन ये फैसला करना किसान यूनियन पर और किसानों पर निर्भर है।
Union Minister Prakash Javadekar today said welfare of farmers is the top priority of the government. In a tweet, Mr. Javadekar said the NDA government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi has ensured that farmers are paid remunerative prices and that minimum support price increases substantially with every passing year.
The Narendra Modi government has taken several measures to transform agriculture sector in the country and raise farmers' income. The government has recently implemented new farm acts in this direction, which include Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce, Promotion and Facilitation Act 2020, and the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Act 2020. More from a correspondent.
The key objective of Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Act of 2020 is to eliminate middlemen who pocketed most of the farmers' productive incomes. It also aims at ending the monopoly of buyers' cartels that fleeced farmers' income in the mandis. Through the path-breaking historic reforms, the farmers in the country have been for the first time given the freedom to sell their produce wherever they could demand a better price. The 3 crucial farmer-oriented and progressive legislation allows farmers to trade their produce online. Above all, the new legislations do not change the existing system of MSP and mandis in any way, leaving the prerogative of choice solely on the farmers. Setting up of APMCs are controlled by the state governments, and the new central legislations only give the farmers free and viable options to market and sell their produce. And all this comes with an added advantage of sufficient safeguard mechanism which can be accessed by the farmers right at the subdivisional level, ensuring dispute resolution to be both accessible and cost-effective. Anand Chaturvedi, AIR News, Delhi.
Finance Ministry has said that revenue from the Goods and Services Tax GST exceeded 1 lakh crore rupees for the second consecutive month. The collection of 1,04,963 crore rupees in November a 1.4% year-on-year growth and also registering a third straight month of growth, indicates that economic activity in the country is returning to normal after disruptions caused by the ongoing coronavirus pandemic and restrictions imposed to fight it. Finance Ministry said the total revenue earned by the central government and the state governments after regular settlement in the month of November this year is 41,482 crore for CGST and 41,826 crore for the SGST. Talking to AIR News, economist Naveen Gupta said,
GST collection for November 20 has announced at 1.04 lakh crores as against the GST collection which was 1.03 lakh crore in November 19. It's a positive development. Foreign exchange reserves which is at all-time high at $568.50 billion, which is first line of defense. And as against that, we see that the data that has been released for the second quarter where manufacturing during the month of July to September has come in positive terrain. It is 0.6%. Agriculture sector is positive at 3.4% and construction sector has shown a phenomenal rise where the growth which was degrowth by to the extent of minus 50%, it has been restricted to 8.6% reduction. That shows that all these are big employment generators. So there has been phenomenal growth. So these sectors have started to provide new employment.
Referring to some media reports about National Education Policy 2020, Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank has clarified that the NEP 2020 upholds the reservation policy enshrined in the Constitution of India. Mr. Pokhriyal said as per the articles published, some political leaders have been raising doubts that the National Education Policy may dilute the provisions of reservation in the educational space of the country. The Union Minister said various entrance examinations like JEE, NEET, UGC NET were organized after the declaration of NEP 2020 and many appointment processes were also held in educational institutions. But the government has not received a single complaint of dilution of reservation provision so far. Union Minister of State for Communications Sanjay Dhotre launched the 5-star village postal scheme to ensure the universal coverage of flagship postal schemes in Dehradun yesterday for rural areas of Uttarakhand. He also distributed Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana passbooks, checkbooks, ATM cards and saving bank passbooks to the beneficiaries of senior citizens welfare fund schemes. The State Minister of Communication also chaired the review meeting of Uttarakhand Postal Circle at Dehradun's General Post Office.
The Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal will chair a meeting of the Board of Trade BOT through video conferencing today. The discussions will focus on the new Foreign Trade Policy 2021 to 2026 and the strategies and measures to be taken in order to take forward domestic manufacturing and exports. Board of Trade will take an overview of the export and import performance, investment promotion strategy for Atmanirbhar Bharat. BOT platform provides an opportunity to have regular discussion and consultation with trade and industry and advise the government on policy measures related to FTP in order to achieve the objective of boosting India's trade. It also provides a platform to state governments and UTs to articulate the perspective on trade policy. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath rang the bell at the Bombay Stock Exchange this morning before listing the Lucknow Municipal Corporation bonds. Lucknow now becomes the 9th city in the country to have adopted this route for fundraising and raised money at a coupon of 8.5% for 10 years. As per the statement by the Uttar Pradesh government, the Lucknow Municipal Corporation had raised 200 crore rupees in the bond issued last month, and the state government felt the same route can be adopted by other cities like Ghaziabad, Varanasi, Agra and Kanpur.
Union Minister for Petroleum and Natural Gas and Steel, Dharmendra Pradhan, launched India's first indigenously developed 100-octane premium petrol through video conferencing yesterday. He described the launch of the environment-friendly fuel as one more step towards facilitating ease of living for the citizens as envisioned by the Union government under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The high-octane premium-grade petrol being marketed under the brand XP100 will be made available in 10 cities across the country, including the national capital, in the first phase. The second phase will see the addition of 5 more cities like Kolkata and Chennai. With the rolling out of XP100 developed by Indian Oil Corporation Limited with indigenous technical know-how, India joins a select league of nations having such super-grade fuel. Octane ratings are measures of fuel stability that increases engine efficiency. The government has constituted a high-level ministerial committee for implementation of the Paris Agreement. The Apex Committee for Implementation of Paris Agreement, AIPA, will be chaired by the Environment Secretary. The purpose of AIPA is to generate a coordinated response on climate change matters that ensures India is on track towards meeting its obligations under the Paris Agreement. Senior officials from 14 ministries will serve as members to AIPA, who will oversee the progress in implementation of India's nationally determined contributions. The next year would mark the beginning of implementation of the Paris Agreement, and constitution of AIPA is central to strengthening the national systems and institutional arrangements for implementation and monitoring of climate actions. It will also ensure that India maintains its climate leadership as one of the few countries in the world whose climate actions are consistent with the goals of the Paris Agreement.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has said India continues to make impressive gains in the reduction of malaria burden. According to World Malaria Report 2020 released by the WHO, India is the only high endemic country which has reported a decline of 17.6% in 2019 as compared to 2018. The annual parasitic incidence reduced to 27.6% in 2018 compared to 2017 and by 18.4% in 2019 as compared to 2018. India has also contributed to the largest drop in cases region-wide from approximately 20 million to about 6 million. The percentage drop in the malaria cases was 71.8% and deaths was 73.9% between 2000 to 2019. India achieved a reduction of 83.34% in malaria morbidity and 92% in malaria mortality between the year 2000 and 2019. Malaria elimination efforts were initiated in the country in 2015 and were intensified after the launch of National Framework for Malaria Elimination in 2016 by the Health Ministry. The National Strategic Plan for Malaria Elimination was launched by the Health Ministry in July 2017, which laid down strategies for the next 5 years. You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Government says it is open to discussions on farmers' welfare. Fourth round of talks with farmers to be held tomorrow. GST collections over 1 lakh crore for the second consecutive month. National COVID recovery rate reaches 94.03%. Cyclonic storm Burevi set to landfall this evening or tonight near Trincomalee in Sri Lanka. And in cricket, India set a target of 303 runs for Australia in the third One-Day International in Canberra. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
To get accurate, reliable and wide coverage of news, tune into AIR News 24/7 and FM Gold and listen to the major bulletins at 8:30 AM, 2 PM and 8:30 PM in English and 8 AM, 2:30 PM and 8 PM in Hindi of half an hour each.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो खुद से वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
India has crossed a significant milestone in its fight against COVID-19. The number of new daily cases have been below the 50,000 mark for 25 consecutive days. In the last 24 hours, nearly 36,600 new confirmed cases were reported, while over 43,000 people recovered successfully in the same time span. With cumulative recovery nearing almost 90 lakh, the national recovery rate has leaped ahead and reached 94.03%. The recovered cases in the country stand at over 20 times the number of active cases. The active caseload of the country also continues to remain below 5%. The total active cases in the country today stands at 4,28,644, which comprises merely 4.51% of the total cases reported. The Health Ministry has informed that nearly 78% of the new COVID cases are concentrated in 10 states and union territories. The ministry has said that this has also led to a commensurate dip in the fatality rate, which stands at 1.45%. It informed that 501 case fatalities were reported in the past 24 hours. Nearly 11 lakh COVID samples were tested in the country in the last 24 hours. With this, the cumulative testing figure has reached around 14,24,46,000. The Health Ministry has said that very high levels of testing led to early identification, prompt isolation and effective treatment of COVID-19 cases. It said this also leads to low fatality rate. The higher volumes of testing have also ensured lower daily positivity rate, which continues to remain below 4%. The country is undertaking almost 5 times the number of daily tests per million of the population as per the standards prescribed by the WHO. India's testing capacity has touched 15 lakh per day, ensuring easily accessible COVID-19 tests for all.
Narendra Modi government swung into action to help the poor even as the country fought against COVID-19. The government announced free food grains and cash payment to women and poor senior citizens and farmers through the 1.70 lakh crore rupees Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package. Around 42 crore poor people received financial assistance of 68,820 crore rupees. Our correspondent adds that over 17,891 crore rupees was transferred under PM Kisan scheme to almost 9 crore farmers. A report.
While the nation was fighting the pandemic, there was also an urgent need to fight poverty. There was a need to ensure that the disruption does not become distress for the poor. About 13 crore free Ujjwala gas cylinders were delivered to poor households. Under Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, nearly 80 crore people received free food grains and pulses till November. Wherever cash transfers were done, they went directly to the bank accounts of the beneficiaries and there were no leakages. Suparna Segya, AIR News, Delhi.
Telangana reported 565 fresh COVID cases during the past 24 hours. With this, the total COVID cases reported in the state has gone up to 2,70,883. The state conducted over 51,000 tests yesterday. The recovery rate slightly improved to 96.03%, with 925 more people recovering yesterday. This took the number of recovered people so far in the state to 2,60,155. Meanwhile, the daily bulletin issued by the State Medical and Health Department this morning stated that total 1,462 deaths were reported so far, following one more person succumbed to COVID and comorbidities during the past 24 hours. Currently, the state is over 9,000 active cases, after which over 7,000 are in home isolation.
Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa today launched the third-stage clinical trials of COVID-19 vaccine named Covaxin in Bengaluru. Covaxin, developed by Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech Limited, will undergo clinical trials in Vaidehi Medical Sciences and Research Institute under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Yojana. The Indian Council of Medical Research has permitted the institute to conduct the third phase trials of Covaxin. Our correspondent says that 2 doses of Covaxin will be administered to the asymptomatic volunteers.
Covaxin will be given to the volunteers in 2 doses this month. The volunteers are above the age of 18 years and are tested negative for the virus and are asymptomatic. The state-run Drugs Controller General of India will analyze the data procured from the trials. Once the vaccine receives the efficacy level, its mass production can be taken up. The Karnataka Health and Medical Education Minister Dr. K. Sudhakar has informed that 26,000 volunteers will be administered Covaxin in the third phase, out of which 1,600 to 1,800 volunteers are from Karnataka. He informed that the central government has sanctioned 900 crore rupees for research to develop the vaccine within the country. The country, he added, is also capable of producing 20% of the global demand for the COVID vaccine being developed by different companies. Sudhindra, AIR News, Bengaluru.
The Madras High Court yesterday granted interim stay against the clearing of arrear papers of college students by 2 universities in Tamil Nadu without holding the tests on the grounds of COVID-19 restrictions. The court, while hearing the cases filed against the results by the universities, asked how such a decision could be taken in contravention of the UGC norms. The court asked why tests were not held either online or offline. The Tamil Nadu government and the universities concerned have been asked to submit their reply to the petitions. Meanwhile, the hearing is reported to have been live-streamed by some miscreants. The court warned of initiating contempt proceedings against those responsible for it and decided to hold future hearings in the case in person.
A central team is on a visit to Jaipur today to review COVID-19 situation in Rajasthan. The central team, led by Dr. Vinod Kumar Paul, member of Niti Aayog, had state-level review of COVID-19 infection with officials of the health department this morning. The situation of infection in Jaipur and Jodhpur was also reviewed. The team members are also scheduled to meet Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot this evening. Our correspondent reports despite there is a decline in new cases of infection, Jaipur and Jodhpur cities have been the worst hit by the pandemic outbreaks.
There has been a decline in new cases of infection in the state in the last 1 week, but a large number of cases are being reported in Jaipur, Jodhpur and Kota. The total number of active patients in the state is about 28,000, out of which about 34% active cases are in Jaipur alone, while about 22% active patients are in Jodhpur. Corona has claimed 2,331 lives across the state, out of which 30% deaths have been reported in Jaipur and Jodhpur cities. This is the reason that the state government and the central team are paying special attention to prevent the spread of infection in these two cities. Jitendra Dwivedi, AIR News, Jaipur.
In Maharashtra, a gradual rise in recovered cases of COVID-19 has been witnessed as the cured patients outnumbered those infected in the last 24 hours. While the number of new cases was 4,930, over 6,000 patients were discharged yesterday. Recovery rate stands at 92.49%, while the case fatality rate is 2.58%. Maharashtra has conducted 1.9 lakh tests so far. Meanwhile, Food and Drug Administration (FDA) has claimed that there will be no shortage of oxygen in Pune division.
In Mizoram, 73 COVID-19 related patients recovered from the infection in the past 24 hours, while 22 fresh cases were detected. With this, the total number of COVID-19 positive cases have risen to 3,869. According to the State Medical Bulletin, the recovery rate has further improved to 92.85%. Also, the number of deaths rose to 6, with one patient dying of the coronavirus yesterday. So far, 3,572 infected people have been discharged from different COVID care centers after recovery from the infections. The number of active cases presently stand at 291. In Tripura, 31 new cases of coronavirus were recorded in the past 24 hours. Alongside, 57 patients were discharged from hospitals after recovery from the virus, bringing the tally to 32,726. According to the State Health Bulletin, 2 patients died of the infection yesterday, taking the toll to 369. Also, 31,798 people infected with the virus have been cured so far, while the recovery rate has further improved to 97.23%. As of today, the number of active cases has also dropped down to 533. Over 5,28,000 samples have been tested in the state till yesterday evening. Out of the total samples tested, over 4,95,000 persons have been found negative of the infection.
Bollywood actor and BJP MP from Gurdaspur, Sunny Deol, has tested positive for COVID-19. He has been staying in Manali for the past few days and was planning to return to Mumbai, but on Tuesday his COVID report was found positive. He shared this information on social media and isolated himself. He appealed to the people who came in contact recently to isolate themselves and go for COVID testing. Britain became the first country in the world to approve the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine today for use and said that it will be rolled out from early next week. The British regulator Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA, declared that the vaccine offers protection of up to 95% and is safe to be used for immunization against COVID-19. According to a media statement, the government has accepted the recommendation from the Independent Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, MHRA, to approve Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine for use. The vaccine will be made available across the UK from next week.
The News Services Division of All India Radio, in its bilingual live phone-in program tonight, will bring you a special discussion program on COVID-19. Dr. K. Srinath Reddy, President of Public Health Foundation of India, will participate in the discussion. Listeners can ask questions to the experts on toll-free telephone number 1-800-115767. You can also ask questions on the telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by #AskAIR. This can be heard on FM Gold channel and additional frequencies from 9:30 p.m. onwards. This program will be made available on our website newsonair.com and on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You can also follow us on the News on AIR app for updates. Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Dharmendra Pradhan today said India stands for a reasonable and responsive pricing of crude. Speaking at a webinar on Atmanirbhar Bharat today, he said the days of monopoly are gone and producers should take into account the consumer's viewpoint also. He said India is currently using only 6% of the world's primary energy, and the per capita consumption of energy is still 1/3 of the global average. He added that India will drive the growth in global energy demand as its energy consumption is projected to grow at 3% per annum up to 2040, faster than all major economies of the world. India's share of total global primary energy demand is set to roughly double to about 11% by 2040, driven by strong economic development.
In Kerala, heavy rains are forecast for today and tomorrow due to cyclonic storm Burevi. A red alert has been issued for 4 southern districts as Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan urged people to be extremely vigilant. A red alert indicating heavy to very heavy rains of over 20 centimeters in 24 hours has been sounded for Thiruvananthapuram, Kollam, Patnamthitta and Alapura districts on December 3rd, while orange alert 6 centimeter to 20 centimeter rains for Kottayam, Ernakulam and Idukki districts. Orange alert has been issued for 3 districts including Thiruvananthapuram on December 2nd and yellow alert 6 to 11 centimeters for another 3 districts including Alapura and Ernakulam. Thunderstorms accompanied by lightning are likely to occur at 1 or 2 places over Kerala and Lakshadweep area from November to December 4th, the weather department said. High waves in the range of 2 to 3.5 meters have been forecast from 14:30 hours on December 2nd to 23:30 hours on December 4th along the coast of Kerala from Vizinjam to Kasargod. The cyclonic storm Burevi is said to have its first landfall this evening or tonight near Trincomalee in Sri Lanka. According to weather bulletin, it is expected to move in west-southwest direction later and cross the southern Tamil Nadu coast between Kanyakumari and Pamban early in the morning on the 4th of this month as a cyclonic storm. While crossing, it is said to gain the wind speed of 70 to 80, gusting to 90 km per hour. When observed last, the cyclone Burevi has been moving northwestwards with a speed of 15 km per hour and was centered at about 240 km east-southeast of Trincomalee, 470 km east-southeast of Pamban near Rameshwaram and 650 km east-northeast of Kanyakumari. Our correspondent reports the cyclonic storm is likely to intensify further within the next 12 hours.
All the major water bodies in the southern districts in Tamil Nadu are continuously being monitored. Officials are alerted to let off the fresh inflow of water when the lakes reach their full reservoir level. Meanwhile, fishermen keep themselves off the sea and have anchored their mechanized and country boats safely in view of the impending cyclone. The sea remains rough and the public are asked not to go near the seashores and rivers like Tamarabarani. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
In the third ODI between India and Australia at Manuka Oval in Canberra, the hosts were 74 for 2 in 16 overs when reports last came in. Earlier, India set a total of 302. For the first time, Indian batsmen showed positive temperament against formidable Australian bowling attack. Skipper Virat Kohli was in good touch and scored chanceless 63 runs. But credit goes to belligerent knocks of later order batsmen Hardik Pandya and Ravindra Jadeja, who scored unbeaten 92 and 66 runs. Australia have already clinched the series, taking an unassailable 2-0 lead of the 3-match series against India. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital will experience clear sky varying between 9 and 26 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky and the temperature will vary between 24 and 35 degrees Celsius. Chennai will have generally cloudy sky with moderate rain. The temperature will hover between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius. Kolkata is likely to have mainly clear sky. The city observed a minimum temperature of 16 degrees Celsius and is likely to experience maximum temperature of 29 degrees Celsius. On to north, Jammu witnessed a minimum temperature of 10 degrees Celsius while maximum will be around 24 degrees Celsius. The city will have a mostly clear sky. Srinagar will have mist in the morning and mainly clear sky later. Temperature will hover between -1 degree Celsius and 14 degrees Celsius. In Leh, there will be partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature was -5 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 8 degrees. Gilgit will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Muzaffarabad will have mainly clear sky. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Government says it is open to discussions on farmers' welfare. 4th round of talks with the farmers to be held tomorrow. GST collections over 1 lakh crore for 2nd consecutive month. National COVID recovery rate reaches 94.03%. cyclonic storm Burevi set to landfall this evening or tonight near Trincomalee in Sri Lanka. And in cricket, India set a target of 303 runs for Australia in the third one-day international in Canberra. And with that, we end the midday news.